All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tone, streaming from the woods. Man, the sun just came out on the side through the trees, and I think a motorist is going to join me in a second. I sent off the link to my moderators. Uh, Yo, Kordik, if you want to join the stream, you've been following me forever. Toro Podal as well. If you guys want to join the stream, you're welcome. So, Kordik, if you wanna DM me on Telegram, I'll send you the Zoom link. I accidentally tweeted out the Zoom link this morning, and like people started joining the Zoom with Matt and I. All right, let's see. How's the audio? How's the video? I think I solved the problem of being able to hear YouTube while I'm on the stream. I think we may test it again today. All right, I already got a couple of questions, but they're about Trump. We'll get there. I do want to focus a little more on Putin this stream. I got two friends right here with me. We'll get to those in a minute. Let's see. We got 100 watching. Hey, guys, feel free to comment, like, subscribe, and really important, I'm still trying to figure out how to minimize, and I reiterate, minimize ads on this channel. I set this stream monetization off so that I don't make any money from ads. If you are getting ads, please let me know in the comment section if you get an ad, okay? Because I have it monetized off, trying to figure out what is the most optimal way to lower the number of ads. Let me zoom in a smidge here. Camera's gonna be following me around. I might not want that. Let's put it this way. Boom. So in case anyone's wondering what I'm drinking, as funny as this sounds, and it's something I have not drank in, I don't know, a decade maybe, it's milk, but it's unpasteurized milk. Oh, shit. It's unpasteurized milk. I was able to find unpasteurized milk not too far from here. So I'm like, holy shit, I need to drink some of that. I don't drink pasteurized milk. I'll throw some pasteurized milk in my coffee when I have a cappuccino or something, when I order a cappuccino, but in general, I don't care for milk. But um, I've been hearing so many good things about unpasteurized milk, and I finally was able to get my hands on a gallon of milk. Motorist, how are you? I don't hear you yet. You're probably muted. Hey, Mel.
What's
All
up?
right, Arcade didn't get any ads. Hey, motorist, how are you? I heard you.
Okay. How's my audio, by the way? I'm using a different mic.
I think it's pretty good. I think your audio is fine.
Okay.
All right, I was just saying, I got my hands on some unpasteurized milk, which is awesome. Now, I did have to make an assumption. The unpasteurized milk that I bought did not say 100% grass-fed cows on the milk carton. But I think I'm being picky here and being a, a bit too skeptical. If you are going out of your way to sell raw milk, I am 99.9% sure you're not feeding your cows anything but grass, because otherwise you're the crazy person, right? Is that a safe assumption?
Well, I think that when it comes to grass-fed cows, it's not as important as people think. In fact, I think I prefer the taste of grain-fed beef than I do grass-fed beef. But that's you're talking about dairy, which is slightly different. I don't think it makes a big difference.
I think it makes a difference. I will say that my favorite steak to eat at a restaurant is grass-fed, grain-finished. It just has the most flavor. And the grass-finished, ideally, is only 30 days. But if it's up to 90 days, I'm okay with that. So, but no more than 90. If the cow ate more than grain and for more than 90 days at the end, I'm not in favor of that anymore. So my favorite cow to eat is at least a year grass-fed, and then ideally only 1 month uh, grain-fed, but no more than 3 months grain-fed. That tends to be the tastiest.
Yeah. Well, with the steak, I've tried grass-fed steak. It just didn't taste right. Maybe I just wasn't used to it. But as far as dairy goes, I like grass-fed dairy.
All right, since I'm done with the milk, what are we drinking? The Lagavulin aged in tequila barrels or tequila?
Wow, good question. Let's see what the audience is saying.
All right, I'm gonna ask the audience, and then we're going to screen share. I'm gonna put up a poll here. Start a poll. What should tone drink? How do you know this? I always get Lagavulin misspelled. Oh my God, I had it right. I guess I spelled it enough times. Or the G4 Extra Añejo Tequila. Just two choices. Let's see. It's always crazy how after the first 10 people vote, we're gonna have the final answer. I just need 10 people to vote, and it's not gonna change. All right, we got 13 votes. Lagavulin is winning. Done. Lagavulin's gonna win. I already know it's gonna win. So this is the crazy thing about polling, right? Um, like the moment 10 people put in their vote, I already knew what the answer was gonna be. It doesn't matter if 200 people that are watching this end up voting. It's gonna be the Scotch. It's 30 votes, and Scotch is dominating with 60%. Man, people that just have no idea how good that tequila is. I will say this bottle is actually more expensive. Yeah, first 10 votes were 6-4, and now we have 40 votes, and it's still 6-4.
I know what I voted for.
The Scotch?
You know it.
All right. Damn. All right, there's my little Bitcoin glass. Shout out to Toro Hodl for hooking me up with these little bad boys. There's that Bitcoin logo.
Torup's in the chat right now too.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really good about like customized cool gadgets and like stuff. All right, there's my sip. I haven't eaten yet today, so two of these, and it's gonna be an interesting stream. Okay, I have a high tolerance, but not after 24 hours of not eating. Okay, let's go to the charts. All right, so real quick, those of you that watched the show this morning with Matt McGregor, oh, hold on, my computer is like processing. There we go. Okay, this is our weekly chart. The weekly chart doesn't look interesting at all. We're skipping it. Now, what about the allocation chart? The allocation chart is also not interesting. It was borderline scary this morning, but right now it's not interesting. Right now it's holding the moving average. The daily chart is the key here. Look at the daily chart. This candle is not invisible, is completely invisible. It's a reversal candle. Now, this morning, we were crashing and we were sitting right near the lows at right near the literally at the lows during our stream. And what I was saying was, I really like the MRI buy opportunity. But what I didn't like is that the MRI happened on the Sunday and not on Monday. Because what I was hoping to see was an MRI reversal candle coming close or bouncing off the 128-day moving average, exactly like it happened in early May. But the MRI came one candle early and this candle was crashing. And during our stream, I was saying how, hey, watch out for this 10 a.m. reversal today. And on the stream, so you guys really need to go back and watch this morning's stream on the Financial Summit YouTube channel, where I pulled up the following chart, the following comparison. I was looking at 5-minute charts, and I theoretically, let me get rid of this. This is not needed. Theoretically, of course, because I was in the middle of the live stream, I announced that I would be entering a long trade. I'm on a 1-minute scale here. I announced I would be entering a long trade. Whoa. What the hell? Oh, it's a 1-minute chart. That's right. Right here at 9:47 a.m. I'm being incredibly specific. At exactly 9:47 a.m., right here at 9:47 a.m., the moment this candle started off green, in the beginning of this candle, I said I would take the long trade and bank on the 10 a.m. reversal. Now, we went up immediately and then pulled back. And then I said around here, I would double down on that trade right there. On this blue line, I would double down on the trade, making my average entry around between these two lines. But the crazy thing was, here is Bitcoin at the same time. Here is Bitcoin at 10 a.m. right there. And we streamed all the way into here. And I explained where my stop losses would be and all that. Actually, we streamed till here, till about 10:15. And right here on the secondary low, when Bitcoin went up into 10 a.m., that's the 10 a.m. candle. Here's the 10:01 a.m. candle. And the 10:01 a.m. candle came back down to my entry and then reversed, and then it just took off like a bandit. Now look at Bitcoin. This is the 10:01 candle. This right here is also the 10:01 candle. So this was the candle on the S&P, the 10 a.m. reversal. Technically, it reversed 5 minutes earlier, but I recognized it right away, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter when you enter this trade. Could have entered it at 10:01. This is the 10:01 candle. This is Bitcoin's 10:01 candle. And here's what Bitcoin did. I'm going to switch to the 5-minute charts because the 1-minute charts are just annoying. So now if we look at the 5-minute charts, here it is. Here is that 10:01 a.m. candle. And here it is on Bitcoin. Right there. This is the 10 a.m. So Bitcoin started rallying from 10 a.m. Yes, it pulled back a bit, but it never made new lows. It never went lower than that low. Right there. Bad color. It never even went lower than the prior low close. So the lowest close was the 9:55 candle that ended at 10 a.m. The 10 a.m. close was the lowest closing low today. And Bitcoin consolidated a bit and then took off. So if this is not the best buying opportunity, the best buying opportunity is the breakout of this area here. That's the second best buying opportunity on a 5-minute chart. So now we're going to go back to the daily chart and reevaluate here. Off the daily chart, you have a perfect reversal. This to me is an MRI reversal. It's just that it needed that Monday morning to kind of scare people. Okay. I'm going to end the poll. That was plenty of votes. Oh, crap, there's a spider on my screen. That's the one thing about the woods. Whenever you have these crazy environmentalists telling you how you have to get back to nature, you put them in nature. You'll see how fast they're going to run and scream back to their air-conditioned apartment in Paris or wherever the hell they are protesting from.
Park Avenue. Tone, I found this tequila anejo from Costco. Am I supposed to drink this neat or on the rocks, or am I supposed to throw it in the trash?
You can drink that on the rocks. I would ideally use it more for a mixer, like a margarita. You can make a simple margarita by just squeezing a bunch of limes into it. I like more natural margaritas. That is a very borderline tequila for sipping. It's borderline. It's
Okay, so it's a margarita one. Gotcha.
it is a margarita, but I tell you what, if I had a choice between drinking that and drinking a $250 Clase Azul Reposado, I will probably drink that. So I'm not saying it's great, but it's better than, say, Michael Jordan's tequila or Kevin Hart's tequila or Kylie Jenner's tequila or even Clase Azul. It's better than those.
Tora wants me to just chug it from the bottle, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. But that is designed more for mixing. But so in this case, this is interesting. So normally you don't want to mix añejo tequilas because añejo tequilas are generally too good to be mixed. But in this case, since it's a Costco añejo tequila, it's definitely worth it's definitely a good mixer tequila. Okay. Where are we here? So I really like this candle. The day is almost over. I like the reversal. I would like to see some follow through. I would like a bullish green candle tomorrow, and I will be even more bullish. But to me, this is a very classic reversal. I would have a stop in the middle of this shadow. So as long as Bitcoin is above 65 and a half, I remain pretty bullish. Okay. All right. Now, that's it for price, guys. Uh, Motorist is here with me. Moderator group, feel free to throw in any good questions you like in that chat. Douglas McGregor was banned on YouTube. No more of him here. I didn't know Douglas McGregor had his own YouTube channel. He did not. There was a Douglas McGregor YouTube channel where it was like some fan of Douglas McGregor would just post his interviews. As far as I knew, Douglas McGregor never had his own YouTube channel. Right. People are asking about the monthly chart and the 2-month chart. So both of them are in a very bad MRI position. The monthly chart is on an MRI sell, but all throughout history, there has been multiple consecutive MRI sells. A single MRI sell never took down the market. Even going all the way back to the beginning, there's been 2 in a row. Then there was one, there was right into a 2 again. And last time there were 3. And then this time, in the very last bull market, there was just 1, but we then went significantly higher. And if it wasn't for the China ban, there would have been a 2 consecutive. So there's never been the first MRI top has never reversed the market. So I'm gonna, stick with the trend that it's not gonna be different this time. Now the 2-month chart is a little bit worse based on MRI. The 2-month chart is also giving us an MRI top. And the last time we had a 2-month MRI top we had a major correction of 50%. So I am taking that into account. And the very first time, we also had, a massive correction as well with that candle. And then in 2013, we did go, one more candle extra. And in 2017, we almost made it to a second consecutive 2-month MRI top. I treat this with a little more caution, but so far, there's not much to worry about. Okay. Let me glance at the other markets real quick. We are right in line with prior cycles. Oil price. Oil is back to $80 a barrel. I have not pulled up. Where is... Oh, I got to get my spreadsheet of oil. I don't have it up with me, so we're not going to do it now. As far as the ETF is concerned, last month, the ETFs bought 30,000 Bitcoin. Last week, the ETFs sold almost 9,000 Bitcoin. Sorry, last week. The week before, the first week of June, the ETFs bought 25,000 Bitcoin. In total, so far this June, the ETFs have purchased 16,000 Bitcoin. In aggregate, the total number of Bitcoin held by ETFs is 875,000 Bitcoin, soon to cross 1 million. And GBTC is now squarely in second place. And you can tell by the average volume that even Fidelity's volume is now greater than GBTC's, and BlackRock is just in a different stratosphere. BlackRock is running away with everything. Volume is crushing it. BlackRock's volume is greater than all the other ETFs combined. That is what's going to drive. I mean, it's a clear winner. Clear winner is BlackRock right here. And by end of year, Fidelity should have more Bitcoin than GBTC. I mean, GBTC has to sell about 50,000 more Bitcoin, and Fidelity needs to buy about 50,000 more Bitcoin. I think by end of year, GBTC will go into third place, and eventually, Bitwise and ARK Invest will have more Bitcoin than GBTC, probably by end of next year. That will happen. All right, so I'm still keeping stats on these things. Congratulations, Ocean, for finally finding a block in June. Jesus Christ, that took forever. Those that are interested in learning how to trade, I still sell those courses. You can go to Learn Trading is a free section. You can go to tonevays.com, products and services, on-demand videos, or the MRI indicator. I haven't been promoting Unconfiscatable. Unconfiscatable is going to be a significantly smaller event this year. It's going to be a lot more fun. We're just going to have fun. I haven't even, well, I reached out to some speakers. I'm not focusing on speakers. I'm focusing on having a good time, having fun. The carnivory dinner is going to be great. The ticket prices are dirt cheap, just $300. It's literally, I am even going to provide food. I mean, the event is targeting about 200 people. It's scaled down. And once we sell 200 tickets, I'm going to call it a day. That's enough people for me to have fun with. And that's what this event's about. It's about cool people coming to Vegas. And the poker tournament, of course, people have been signing up for the poker tournament. It's going to be absolutely awesome. And then we will also have the Financial Summit in the Maldives. Definitely check out our YouTube channel. That's where I stream about the price of Bitcoin. Already talked about that. Whoa, look at the S&P today. The S&P absolutely crushed it today. I timed the 10 a.m. reversal to the minute, almost to the minute. That was 2 minutes off. And watched the video this morning from the Financial Summit channel to see What happened there? All right, we got a couple of questions. Oh, I misspelled peace. Huh. I am retarded when it comes to spelling. That
Sorry,
is a clue.
I'll help you with the questions in a minute. I was just
All right.
catching up on something.
I am clinically retarded when it comes to spelling. I'm not making fun of myself. I actually am. So there will be lots of misspellings on pretty much everything. Let me go and fix it now before I look even dumber than I am. Hope that'll work. I did do it in the wrong place. Let me see here. Hold on. All right. I think I fixed it. Great. All right, A-Tone, what's your opinion on the left translated PAEQ? I have no idea what that means. Q3, Q4, 24. A lot of chatter around, but believe people still got PTSD from bear. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what the peak is. PEAQ. I don't know what that word means. I have no idea. Where's the 128-day moving average right now? It was at 64.5, but I think I don't think it's getting there. I think we've already like come close enough. I think we've already come close enough. The left translated peak? I don't know. So yes, too precious asks, anyone know why Tone chose to move to Panama? Is it about taxes? It is not about taxes. I don't have a good answer as to why I moved to Panama, which is why I'm probably going to move to Roatan. If you don't know why I'm planning to move to Roatan, you absolutely must go to my YouTube channel. It's very easy to get to my YouTube channel. Okay? You find my YouTube channel, you go to video, you go to live, and you find my Roatan video, Prospera, right here. Prospera must visit private Bitcoin city. I should probably put the word Roatan in there. Prospera is a city on Roatan Island of the coast of Honduras. I have a dozen reasons as to why I would like to move there. Panama, I have long stories. I can talk good about Panama. I can talk bad about Panama. Those of you that watch some of my other streams, you would know that I do have a girlfriend in Panama, so I am in Panama. But I met her while I was there. I initially moved to Panama because I didn't want to live in America, but I didn't want to live too far from America. And Panama seemed like a stable country. I met a lot of good friends there right away. A lot of them have actually moved out of Panama. So Panama is not as appealing as it was right after the pandemic when I moved over there. But it's not about taxes.
I like what you said about it being just out of both the hurricane zone and being just out of the winds for the fallout, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Panama has a very good geographical strategic position. I have lots of complaints about Panama. The biggest one being, throw a thumbs up if you've seen the movie Idiocracy. Oh, great, my phone's ringing. Give me 1 second.
All right. While Tone is answering his call, why don't you guys say who your favorite character from Idiocracy was in the comments? Who did you guys like, Beef Supreme or the President, or who's your favorite character? You're still muted, Tone. I don't know if you're on the call still.
I muted the wrong thing. I muted the YouTube, not the Zoom. Um, so, uh, it, whoever wrote the script for Idiocracy must have lived in Panama. That's all I'll say.
You can see if I got people saying they've never seen Idiocracy. I believe you can see it for free on YouTube. So at least that's how I saw it.
Idiocracy is a must-watch movie. It's in my top 20, probably. Okay. So I want to get to some of the good topics. All right. Do we have any other questions? There were some Biden questions. And Trump. I'll cover those first, and then, um, and then I want to talk about some specific.
Laura wanted to know what was on the grill. That's the only good question I saw.
There was nothing on the grill actually. I haven't. I'm just here by myself. I'm not going to be grilling for myself. I have other things I can eat, mostly raw meat. One of my favorite dishes is raw ground beef. As crazy as that sounds, I eat raw ground beef all the time. I do try to find a good clean source, 100% grass-fed, for my raw ground beef. I mix it with about 4 to 6 egg yolks, uh, salt, pepper, cumin. I squeeze a lemon, and I put some avocado oil. And then after I mix it all together, I cut up an avocado, and I don't like mash it. And I just have like chunks of avocado so that as I eat this with a spoon or a fork, I also get nice chunks of a ripe avocado. All
I've
right.
had raw ground beef before. It's pretty good. It's a common dish in Armenian Middle Eastern households.
Yeah. So that's usually like when I'm by myself, that's what I'm generally eating as 2, 3 times a week. All right. Today we're 46 million longs liquidated on Doge. I could not care less, Alexander. Uh, I have no idea, nor does that matter. It can be a bullish signal on the coin. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with your Doge positions. Have fun. Okay. All right. Oh, Mel's sending over some questions.
Yep, I just saw the question. I can read it if you want.
Mel was posting questions to Tatum. That's funny. Tone, SPX on daily MRI sell, in 2 weeks, weekly MRI sell, and 2-month MRI sell. Isn't this just telling us to sell? I don't know. Let me go take a look at the S&P a little more carefully here. Here's the weekly S&P. The weekly S&P gave us an MRI top for a 1 to 4 candle correction, but the current weekly candle is ripping. So I remain bullish on the S&P here, but if next week is bullish, then we could be off to the races. That's the daily chart. The weekly chart looks like it has plenty of room to the upside, and it's not ready to top yet based on the MRI. The monthly chart is also not ready to top yet, and we have plenty of room on the MRI. I want to, hold on.
I'm drinking that tequila on the rocks. Just wanted to show that real quick.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm still drinking the Lagavulin. Now that, um, Now that I'm maybe moving to the Caribbean, now I got to start learning rums. Why isn't my multi-time frame summary visible? Interesting. That's strange. Right. So we still have a couple of months to go before we reach an MRI top. And on a 2-month scale, though I'm not sure how seriously you should take the 2-month scale, we are at an MRI top on a 2-month scale. Historically, it's been a little early. Something to consider. Something to consider. I remain bullish on the S&P for now, especially after a day like today.
By the way, Tone, Porkfest is starting up right now. You're not that far. I'm in California, so this will be the first Porkfest I missed since 2016. Are you planning
Yeah,
on crashing?
I'm not that far, but I also don't have a car. So I'm suddenly far. I'm like maybe 12-day walk if I decide to go. Yeah, I have Doug Scribner coming here tomorrow as he's driving to Porkfest from Minnesota.
Perfect. That'll work out. I guess, yeah, Doug did go, I think, last year or the year before. I think I did see Doug there.
Yeah, so I already said I'm done with events. I'm done with events. I have my own events, and I'm done with other people's events. I am tired. I no longer get any ROI. For those that don't know what ROI means, I no longer get any return on my investment by going to the events. I used to get return on investment. I used to invest by going to the event. Even if the event is covering my expenses, I'm still investing my time. If I have to pay my own way, I'm investing my time and my money. And I used to, get a return out of that. More people would follow my channel. People would buy my products. People would hire me as a consultant. I have not gotten any ROI from going to these events. And my life is exciting and busy enough. Going to these events does not give me business opportunities. It does not give me financial enhancement. So it honestly makes 0 sense for me to go. The only reason why I would go is to like meet people that want to meet me, but that only benefits the conference. It doesn't benefit me at this point anymore. Back in the day, it was great. But nowadays, I show up at an event and it just gets overwhelming. And it's just a lot harder for me to go to events now.
Tone, may I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with CPAC. Would you ever? I wouldn't go there because that's not really my crowd. But you would. I think you would fit in CPAC a lot better than I would. Would you ever consider going there?
Is that a political thing?
Yeah, it's the Conservative Political Action Committee conference. It happens every year.
Maybe. I mean, right now, the only way to get me to a conference is going to be either I get paid and I'd go, or it's a conference where no one knows me. So if, let's say, CPAC asked me to be a speaker, I would absolutely go because I am speaking to people that have no clue who I am. That has some kind of a return on investment. Even if I get like 100 new subscribers, that's a return on investment. And the final reason I would go to a conference is if it's taking place somewhere where I really want to go to, or a place I really want to come back to, or a place I've never been to, I want to go there, something like that.
Well,
So
CPAC is always in Washington. Just FYI.
right. So that's a one place I have 0 desire to go to, right? So at this moment, like if you have a conference in Japan and you're going to pay my expenses, I will be there, right? But I've already been to Japan. So the next place high up on my list is Peru, If someone was to do a conference in Machu Picchu, Peru, and I get to speak at this conference, I will go potentially even pay my own way, right? So if you have I mean, that's the only reason I would go. Like, I'm not at Mining Disrupt. I'm not going to be at Nashville, Bitcoin 2024. Probably not. There's a small chance I will. Um, that's it. Like, I may or may not be at Pacific, especially if I've been to the conference before. It's not enjoyable for me. It's not that fun. I have my own conferences, so uh, and I can meet up with
Well,
people at any meetup. Like,
everyone already knows who you are at these conferences,
right.
but like, let's say if one of your viewers is planning on going to Unconfiscatable, that wouldn't necessarily be something for them to worry about. Like, they would want to go to have a party, go to the poker tournament where there's lots of fish in that tournament, and have good steak and just hang out with good Bitcoiners and make new contacts.
Yeah. But me showing up at these events, I think it's over. Like I said, if those of you that watched my video on Prospera, I am this close. This close. I don't know if you guys can see it. This close to just opening up the tequila bar, and anybody that wants to see Tone, I'll do a video once a week. And other than that, come have a tequila or a scotch with me down on the most gorgeous island I've ever been to in the Caribbean.
And I did want to get to Marco's question because it's a really good question in my
Yeah,
opinion.
go for it.
So it says, I currently have 50% IBIT and 50% SBTC in IRA. Should I consider going full IBIT? I think that's a good question.
It doesn't matter. IBIT is BlackRock. You are an active. You're not an active trader. Either of these are fine, and in fact, any of these are fine. ARC, BTB, like all of these are perfectly fine. Even BITB is fine. Where BlackRock has a huge advantage is in active trading. If you have a fund and you are trading, I don't know how many shares are out there. There's 507 million shares of BlackRock ETF. If you are trading millions of shares every single day, up and down, you need to be in BlackRock and only BlackRock. If you are a buy and holder, it doesn't matter. The ETFs down here are equally as good. But where BlackRock has a massive advantage is with active traders and active traders of large amounts. So if I was trading, let's say, what's the average trade volume here? So if you look at ARC, they only trade one average volume. They only trade 1.5 million shares a day. So if I was to make 100,000 an ETF trade of 100,000 shares, I would not be using ARC's ETF. It doesn't have the liquidity. But if I was buying 100 shares or 1,000 shares and holding them for the next 3 months, I wouldn't care. You can hold any of them. But no hedge fund that wants to, buy 1 million shares this morning, and then sell them tomorrow, they can't use these things. They don't have enough shares that are out there. So in your case, it doesn't matter at all.
One thing I'll add to that, to what you just said, Tone, is I don't think any of these ETFs have options, but if Marco is planning on doing any type of a covered option strategy, like a covered call or any other option strategy on top of the ETFs that he holds in his IRA, I would recommend going into either one, because I think they'll both have options. So either IBIT or FBTC. And IBIT will probably have options before FBTC does. I don't think either has right now, unless I missed something.
Um, I don't think they're gonna give only BlackRock options. I think that would be unfair. I think if they do options, they would give it to at least 5 of them. So I would think these top 6 would get options at the same time.
In that case, you may still want to have your entire stake in one of them, just so that when you do trade the options, it's less confusing. You only have to worry about one set of options rather than trying to divide them up between different ETFs.
Okay, let's see what else we got. What's the likelihood we actually come down to bounce off of 57? I think that likelihood is less than 50%. I believe that coming down to $57,000 is less than 50% likely. That would take you all the way. Wow, I'm gonna say it's even less than 40% likely. Going down to 57 would literally take you to the double bottom, breaking 3 areas of support. I think the probability is less than 40%. Now I know Ugly Old Goat is still anticipating 40,000. I give that a probability of 15%. I think the chances of that are insanely low. In fact, I think they are so low, I don't even bother talking about it except when someone reminds me. July, Minnesota's Bitcoin meetup. If that meetup is the first week of July, I can be there. I will actually be in Minnesota. I'm flying out to Wisconsin. Oh, if anyone is in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I will be landing in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on Wednesday. So if somebody wanted to grab a drink in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on Wednesday, tweet at me, or, my DMs are not open. I made the mistake of opening my DMs to checked accounts with a check mark. And holy shit, was that a mistake. The amount of scammers and spam from checked Twitter accounts is insane. I had 100 messages from verified paid Twitter accounts, all asking me how badly do I want to grow my following and how they want me to pay them so they can increase my following. They're all scammers. They're all scammers. They can't do shit. Ignore them all. Like, you look at their following and it's like 3,000 followers, and I'm like, all right.
And even if they could increase your followers, you don't want those bots as followers anyway.
Exactly. So I turned off DMs. I didn't even have open DMs. I had open DMs to paid users, and even that was a disaster. Okay, we got to talk about Russia. All right, let me see. Let me go to the other questions real quick. Would I be interested in moving to El Salvador? Not really. Personally, I think El Salvador is at least a decade behind in infrastructure. And not just infrastructure and capitalist mentality. The reason why I really like Roatan is that even though the country of Honduras is a little bit of a communist shithole, in need of a Bukele to clean up the country at its 3rd highest murder rate per capita, not counting Barbados and like St. Lucia, because they don't have enough people, so they're silly rankings. The island of Roatan is incredibly capitalistic. The people on that island, while either they're business owners or they're locals, the locals are friendly, the locals speak English, the locals believe in capitalism. El Salvador has at least one more generation. They're not there yet. El Salvador is making an incredible start. I'll even say a decade. El Salvador can do in 1 decade what takes other countries 30 years to turn the tide into capitalism and building good infrastructure. El Salvador can do it in a decade. But El Salvador is still a decade away from me moving there. an island like Roatan is already there. It already has the infrastructure. It already has the capitalist mentality and the friendly nature towards expats. El Salvador is completely new to this. It just needs time. There's nothing wrong with this. It's great that Max Kaiser has moved there and helping it achieve their goals faster. But I am looking for a place that already has a better starting point than where El Salvador is right now.
Max is single-handedly keeping shitcoins out of El Salvador.
Right. And I would like to do the same in Roatan. Hey, Jonathan Mohan. Awesome. Hey, Jonathan. Guess he's watching the stream.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if he was watching the stream or if he was in one of the places you were just talking about.
Oh. Okay. Now, let me, I had a couple of questions regarding Joe Biden, and then we're going to get to Russia, because I kind of want to get to Russia. What happens if Joe Biden suddenly dies? Well, I'm sure they didn't give him the real vaccine, so the chances of that are a little lower than they otherwise would be. I didn't say that, by the way. Please don't ban me, YouTube. Now, Joe Biden suddenly dying or Joe Biden stepping down, which I believe is more likely to happen, would just make Kamala president for a few months. Kamala will not run for re-election. They will not let her run for the re-election. She will be laughed at if she runs for re-election. She's the most useless, dumbest vice president the world has ever seen. So, not going to happen. So what would happen, the real question is, what would happen to the markets? I think if that happens, the markets would at first crash based on uncertainty. And then once it's established who is going to be running for president on the Democratic ticket, the markets would immediately recover. I continue to believe that Gavin Newsom is the next president of the United States. We will see. By the way, if Gavin Newsom is the next president of the United States, I should just retire as Nostradamus. Should just change my name. But I think Gavin Newsom will be the next president of the United States. Next question. Likewise, what if Trump dies suddenly? Well, that's a harder one to manage. If Trump dies suddenly, the Republicans have no one to stand for election. Nikki Haley is a fucking menace. She is like, she's the reincarnation of Cheney. She is a disaster. However, if something happens to Trump, I can see instantly good Republicans throwing their name onto the ticket. Guys like Rand Paul, what's his name? Ron
Vivek.
Johnson.
Vivek?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Massey?
Maybe a Massey. Massey might do it. I can see like all of these libertarian Republicans thinking this is their one and only shot because the Democrats will not have the time to attack them. It will be very, very difficult. So I can see that. It's hard to envision Vivek coming back. It really is. But Vivek would probably be the best candidate. Vivek was never going to win. I'm sorry, Vivek does not have the right skin color for the job. He's not going to get elected. Wasn't going to happen.
We got a question about Roatan. Is it safe?
It is safe. It's is it Dubai safe? Is it Japan safe? No. Is it
Is it as safe as Disneyland, for example?
well, it's a lot, well, depends on your age, right?
Okay, I get it.
It's a lot safer than Disneyland if you're an adult. But look, is it as safe as New York or LA? It depends where in New York and LA you are. I mean, it's I would say it's safer than most Latin American countries. I'm in Panama. Panama is one of the safest Latin American countries. Am I gonna walk home drunk at 2 in the morning? No. That's kind of dangerous. Am I gonna walk home at 2 in the morning in Panama? If it's less than a 15-minute walk, sure. I'll walk home at 2 in the morning in Panama. I'm not scared. But also, we as humans, we have this bias. Like just because you walked home at 11 p.m. a dozen times and nothing happened to you, you suddenly assume that making a slightly longer walk at 2 in the morning is absolutely safe. So this is like a bias that we have. I grew up in New York City, and I feel very comfortable in New York City. Am I gonna walk through East New York or I mean Harlem is not as bad as it used to be. Am I gonna walk through East New York or like Stuyvesant or the Bronx at night alone? No, I've never been to the Bronx, right? So of all the places I'm not gonna walk by myself after sundown is the Bronx. I'm unfamiliar with the Bronx. But I grew up in Brooklyn and I feel comfortable in Brooklyn. So
Oh,
we get
Roatan
to
is safer than El Salvador for sure, right?
El Salvador is pretty safe right now. Uh, I mean, El Salvador is pretty safe. Uh, look, if you use proper judgment, it's totally safe. You just got to use proper judgment. Don't wear flashy watches. It's not a wealthy island. There isn't a single person there with a Lambo or a Bugatti or even a Maserati. There's almost no BMWs. Like, look, if you're gonna drive your BMW into a neighborhood that you're unfamiliar with, yeah, shit can happen. But if you use judgment and don't don't be stupid, you're gonna be perfectly safe. Okay. The person on the stream is Bitcoin Motorist. You can follow him on Twitter. All right. Next question. I don't think there'll be riots if Trump or Biden happen to die of old age or look, if Trump is assassinated, there could be issues. There I can definitely see riots. But the problem is, look, the the conservatives don't riot. It's a big misconception. Like, I don't know, it's the left wing, it's the communists, it's the Democrats. They're the violent protesters. It's this massive misconception that it's the Republicans and the right that are violent. They're not violent. Yes, they carry guns, but anybody that carries a gun, they're more restrained, they're more responsible, right? It's the left. It's always the left. It's the BLM that have the violent riots. And the January 6th protests were actually peaceful. They were insanely peaceful. They were instigated by the clashes with the police starting it. And they were instigated by all the undercover FBI agents that manipulated the situation into violence. The left is insanely more violent than the right. But the problem is that the left controls the media, and the media makes you believe that the right is more violent than the left. That is a complete lie, a complete and utter lie. The left is always more violent than the right. Like there's this weird affiliation of Hitler and the right. That is, to me, that's a little wrong. Uh, I mean, referring to Hitler, yes, Hitler was far right, but when you go far right and you go far left, you end up in the same circle. You end up at the same point, right? But Hitler is the only example of far right. You have 1,000 examples of far left. So for some reason, one fucking guy is associated with the far right. And I can name you 20 people that are like not as bad as Hitler, but pretty damn close, that are on the far left. So for some reason, one guy is associated with the right being evil and violent. And it's just so unfortunate that everything, the moment you lean right, you're associated with Hitler. And it's the only example they can give. Name another like far right top 100 evil person in the world. It's very hard. It's always the left. It's always from the left.
There might be a few others on the right. Pinochet, or who was it in?
I
Was it
can
in El
defend
Salvador?
Pinochet. I
What's
can
that?
defend Pinochet. I can defend Pinochet.
Okay, fair enough. And what was it? Was it in El Salvador? Where was it? Where they had that? They had the Contras, um, the counter revolutionaries. Was that in El Salvador, or was it in another? I know it was Central America. Was it in Honduras or El Salvador? I don't remember.
I'm not sure, but I will like I would
The
not. I mean, yes.
Sandinistas, the
Well,
Sandinistas were the leftists, and then there was the Contras that were the right wingers.
that one is beyond my expertise. I haven't dived into that. But going back to Piaget, I have read up on. I just haven't read up on the rest. So with Piaget, yes, Piaget was far right, but it is very debatable whether he was evil far right. Right? Uh, wasn't Hitler a socialist? To me, he was. To me, Hitler was a socialist, but he's considered to be far right. Um, so with Piaget, did Piaget do evil things? Yes. Did Piaget round people up and shoot them and execute them? Yes. But who did he round up and execute? Right? Who did Piaget round up and execute? With people like Hitler, Hitler went after, the Jews and other, ethnic classes. With people like Stalin, again, very evil. But Stalin was on the left. Piaget rounded up and shot the communists. Only communists. He rounded up and shot the evil Marxist. I mean, is it bad? Yeah, I mean it's bad, right? Like I'm anti rounding up and killing people, obviously, right? But after Piaget did what he did, Chile had the #1 or #2 capitalistic economy in all of Latin America. Eventually surpassed. They were #1. He literally turned Chile into a beacon of capitalism. It's unfortunate he had to round up and execute the communists, but I grew up in a communist country. And growing up in a communist country, I'm not going to say which of my elder relatives said this, but one of my elders in my family literally said, Piaget is the greatest politician of all time. He was the only one with the balls to round up the Marxists in his country and shoot them. Okay? And this is what people living under a Marxist regime always wanted. This is kind of what happened in Romania when they finally overthrew their Marxist communist government. So like I said, yes, Piaget was far right, but Piaget is defendable even today, and nobody can defend Hitler, but you can defend Piaget.
And it was Nicaragua. Winston and narrator and others were saying it was Nicaragua. I should know that because I have an aunt who's Nicaraguan, so I should have known that it was Nicaragua.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Nicaraguan politics.
Apparently, neither am I.
So here's the thing, right? I was there on January 6th, and there were millions of people there. Don't listen to CNN that said barely 10,000 people showed up. It was millions of people there. Between 9 a.m. and 6 during daylight hours, you have no idea how many people were there with their babies, with strollers, with older people, like in their 80s. Show me a single person participating in the BLM protests, bringing their baby with a stroller. Okay? I got stuck in the middle of a BLM protest. I was in my car. It was in New York. I was gonna get on the Brooklyn Bridge, and the entire freaking, pro George Floyd BLM movement was going over the Brooklyn Bridge, so I got stuck. And I have all of these people walking past me and past my car, and I'm like, holy shit. I mean, thank God my car wasn't like a brand new fancy car, because these people hate capitalism, right? Had I had like a, I don't know, BMW or some nice fancy car, someone would have probably hit it with a bat or something, right? Trust me, the one thing I did not see in like the 2,000 people that were walking towards me and the traffic jam I was in were people with their babies. All right, that's what happened on January 6th. Okay, so many people came out with their families. Nobody was armed. No one had a hidden knife, as far as I knew. You don't see that. Okay, you can't say that about the BLM protesters. That's for damn sure. So the January 6th protest was peaceful. With over 1 million people that were there, was absolutely peaceful. It eventually got a little bit violent, but it was definitely, let's just say, edged into violence from multiple sides.
A couple more finance questions. You can read them if you want.
To me, Hitler was far left, but it has been the default position that Hitler was far right.
You still believe in the 19-year Armstrong cycle? I believe we top in 2025 or 2026.
Hey, motorist, you're seriously breaking up, or when you speak to your side, you lose the mic.
Okay, I'm just reading the question. Is this better?
Yeah, much better.
Do you still believe in the 19-year Mark Armstrong cycle? I believe we top in 2025 or 2026. Do you foresee a massive recession next year or so to the end of this 19-year cycle?
So I don't believe that Martin Armstrong uses 19-year cycles. Martin Armstrong uses 8.6-year cycles. And when it's 8.6 times 8.6, that's the big kahuna. So it's 8.6 of 8.6. So so that comes around every 80 something years. So what, 8 times 8, 64, plus the 0.6 and 0.6. So approximately 80 something years is the big kahuna. And that one is coming in the year 2030, 2032. I do like Martin Armstrong. I just don't understand, and I just have a problem with you saying that it's something to do with 19 years. I'm not aware of that.
Okay, 8.6 times 8.6 is 74, I believe.
Yeah, so there it is, 74, whatever that comes out to. Well, I think he also uses 8.6 times 10. So I think there's also 86, like 8.6 and then 86. So I'm not exactly sure, but if you just go to his, I mean, if you just go to his wave, to his economic confidence model, you'll see his dates. And I do believe in those dates.
Do you think the recent French elections are indicating a shift to the right, impact prospects of the Republican candidate winning the American presidency?
They're completely independent. I mean, I do think that I would love to see Marine Le Pen win the French election. That would be great. I am a huge fan of Marine Le Pen. I've been a huge fan of her for a decade now. She's been around a while. It's great. I would love to see Nigel Farage become one day the next prime minister of the UK. These are awesome movements. Now, Europe shifting to electing candidates on the right has nothing to do with America electing on the right. First off, candidates like, well, which it's ironic because somebody like Galloway is actually on the left, not on the right, which is why I'm not a huge fan of Galloway, even though we have a lot in common as far as policy goes. But I really like Nigel Farage. Now, Marine Le Pen is a true politician on the right, similar to Margaret Thatcher. She's an honest pro-nationalist, which is not a bad word, pro-nationalist candidate on the right, which is great. America doesn't really, Trump is not a politician on the right. Trump is just on the right. Trump is a candidate on the right. In fact, Trump spent his whole life being a Democrat. So Trump just happens to be on the right because he happens to be a capitalist. But Trump is not a politician. There's very few American politicians that are really on the right. Like Mitt Romney pretended to be on the right because he was a rich guy that owned a hedge fund or a private equity firm. But look at him. He's basically a leftist politician in Massachusetts. Okay, so guys like Rand Paul, they're squarely on the right. He's a politician. Yes, he's a doctor, but he spent most of his life and career as a politician who happens to be on the right. There's few and far of those in between. And America has never really elected one of those in a long ass time. I mean, just go backwards in time. Obama is lefty. What's his name? Clinton is a lefty. Trump, I wouldn't call him a politician. So he's a completely different exception, right? George Bush, yes, he's a capitalist on the right, but I think George Bush had a few brain cells missing, okay? His dad was a little bit better, but he didn't stick around very long. Just 4 years, couldn't get reelected, okay? What about Reagan? Yeah, Reagan was on the right, but Reagan wasn't a politician. Reagan was an actor who just became a politician, okay? So, like, how far back do you go? You got to go all the way back to Nixon. Like, you literally have to go all the way back to Nixon. That was your last guy. That was a real politician that was on the right. And to me, Nixon was one of the best presidents America ever had. Okay? It wasn't his fault he took us off the gold standards. He had no choice at that point. So, there are no politicians on the right that get elected. So don't in Europe it happens more often, but Europe has like 30 countries. So yeah, it's gonna happen every now and then. America's
I would disagree with your assessment that Nixon was a great president. I think that Nixon, what people criticize Nixon for is not the actual bad things he did. They criticize him for Watergate, But his actual bad thing he did is he prolonged the Vietnam War.
So we can talk
That's
about
something
that.
no
By the
one
way,
is.
I'm getting this is where tone starts to get buzzed because I haven't eaten in over 24 hours. And this is now my second hardcore alcoholic beverage. So two things on that. One, it's not easy getting out of a war when, again, the media is far left. Okay, so Nixon didn't take us into Vietnam, but Nixon at least got us out of it. So I give him credit for that. Could he have gotten us out of it earlier? Sure. Okay, and we're also talking about shit that I wasn't even alive for, and I'm not exactly a Vietnam War buff. Now, as far as Watergate goes, the more I research Watergate, not that I research Watergate on a daily basis, happens like, I don't know, once every couple of years. The more I look into what happened in Watergate, the more I feel like Nixon was totally set up. And he might have, approved something that he didn't even realize how badly it could get. But I just think the whole Watergate thing was a complete setup to get Nixon out. It was like the CIA was didn't have the balls to kill another president or a presidential front runner like RFK. So the CIA needed to eliminate Nixon, but they or the what do you call them, the deep state needed to eliminate Nixon, but killing yet another presidential candidate would have been too obvious. So they eliminated him a different way. I personally think that Watergate was 80% a setup and 20% Nixon's fault, which is a big difference versus the other way around.
Probably the time to bring this up, but at the risk of having everybody in the comments hate me, I will. We need to have a discussion about JFK.
Oh, motorist, your mic is shitty again. Like sometimes your mic is really good, sometimes it's really bad. Like I think it really depends.
A discussion on the JFK assassination at the risk of angering everybody in the comments. There's a lot. There's a lot about that most people don't know.
Yeah, motorist, check your mic. Okay.
Okay, sorry. Hopefully this is better.
Oh, way better. Jesus.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't think the CIA had anything to do with JFK assassination. Well, with a small caveat, I do think that Oswald was on the CIA's radar, but it wasn't for JFK's assassination. It was for other reasons.
Wait, did you say you don't think CIA had anything to do with JFK's assassination?
Yes, and I don't know if this is the time to have that discussion, but I can have that discussion if you want. But we can do this another time where we can do it now. It will be a whole long debate, and I'm sure everybody in the comments hates me now.
So I really don't want to have this discussion because I think that anyone that watches my channel, 90% of the people that watch my channel are 90% convinced, including myself, that the JFK assassination was 100% a CIA operation.
Okay, we'll take this discussion offline. We'll have this discussion at some point. Then, if you want, we could do a video on it.
All right. I got all right. We go. Okay. So let's talk about Russia for a minute, and then I am gonna get going because I kind of do want to eat. Once I finish my G4, we're gonna eat. So this is completely crazy. Putin has come out. I really should, but I just posted it in. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm actually gonna slightly switch screen share. Actually, no, I'm gonna switch it later. Let's leave it as is. So Putin offered a peace deal. What was in the peace deal? Putin outlined the conditions. This is what the AI is for, but that's okay. Putin outlined the conditions for immediate ceasefire and the end to the Ukraine conflict, and he offered the following conditions: withdrawal of Ukrainian forces from Russia's new territories, which would be internationally recognized as Russian, and an official guarantee that Ukraine would not join NATO. That's all he asked for. This is insane, okay? What's even more insane, mentally, psychologically, you need to go to a mental asylum, that Ukraine did not take this deal. I mean, this was, you're never going to get a deal this good. This is like Putin should be the one getting destroyed in the Russian media for offering such accommodating peace terms to Ukraine. Putin really wants peace. He offered them the bare minimum. He's asking for two freaking things. Two things. He's asking for these territories are now ours, which they already are, and don't join NATO. He's not even asking them not to join the European Union. They can join the European Union all they like. That's not even in the terms. He just wants these two things. I think there was a third thing, but it was like minor. That's literally all he's asking
No
for.
nuclear weapons and.
Well, that's the NATO part. Yeah, obviously no nuclear weapons. This is insane. And Ukraine turned it down. They turned it down. So I wrote in my Telegram group, what if I was Putin? What would I have asked for in the peace deal in exchange for peace? So here's what I would have asked for, and we're going to pull up a map of Ukraine. So we're going to go through it real quick right now.
And Ukraine did not turn it down. Ukraine was told to turn it down by NATO. Ukraine doesn't do anything without NATO's approval.
Yes and no. So again, Zelensky can grow a pair of balls and take control of his country and tell the West to go to hell because they're already responsible for killing over 500,000 Ukrainians. He could, he has the money. He's got $1 billion stashed away. He can hire a private army to, arrest his Nazi bodyguards that are there to kill him in case he doesn't toe the line, right? He can come in with his own private bodyguard force, take out the people that, have his balls in a vice, and sign the damn peace deal, saving the rest of the Ukrainians. So technically, at the end of the day, if he wants to say he's the president of Ukraine, which he's not at the moment, or not legally anyway, he can do that. And he can also just step down and let somebody else deal with it. Yeah, we can. Remind me to talk about the Saudis not exiting the whole like U.S. dollars and on oil thing.
Oh, I already know what you're going to say about that.
Good. So I'm going to find the message that I've sent to my off-topic group chat. What I would have demanded if I was Putin. So here we go. It's a long freaking list. And before we do that, I'm going to pull up the map of Ukraine. And we're going to do it with this map. No, we are not going to do it with that. We're going to do it with this map. This is the Ukrainian election of 2010. This is the election that Viktor Yanukovych won, and this was the pro-Russian leaning president that America overthrew in late 2013. Okay? Notice the regions that voted for Viktor Yanukovych. So anything in light yellow to low blue was pretty much 50-50. But you can see how all of these regions voted for Yanukovych. Yanukovych barely spoke Ukrainian. Yanukovych, when he was ousted as president in a CIA-backed illegal overthrow of a democratically elected Ukrainian president, he fled to Russia. He was friends with Russia. Why did a pro-Russian president get democratically elected in Ukraine? Now, you can claim that this election was fraudulent, but it's hard to claim that the election was fraudulent when the people most likely responsible for the fraud of the election would have elected the other guy. Okay? So it's very hard to believe that the election was fraudulent because Kiev, the regime that controls the election, didn't vote for him. And yet, a pro-Russian guy got elected. These regions of Ukraine do not speak Ukrainian. They speak Russian, they identify as Russians, and if it wasn't for terrible Soviet Union leaders in the 50s and 60s, this would have always been Russia. And in 1991, when the country of Ukraine first came into existence for the first time in history, it would have been a significantly smaller country, and all of the shit that we're dealing with now would have been avoided. Having said that, I am actually gonna change screen share real quick. Let me change screen share real quick. Because I want to open the same chart in my favorite Windows application ever made, Motorist. Want to guess what that is?
Is it Paint?
It is Paint. Yes. That is correct.
Lucky guess.
And we are going to Paint. We're gonna take the color red, and we're gonna say this, 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 and this is already Russia. Now, this has already been Russia for almost a decade. This is now Russia. At the moment, I'm gonna get like a squiggly line here. At the moment, Russia, oh, wait, only controls this area here. At the moment, Russia controls everything to the right side of the blue line. I'm just estimating here, okay? It was like a rough sketch of what Russia controls. It's about, they control about this. Now, this area here is actually kind of difficult for Russia to control, and this area here is difficult for Russia to control due to natural geography and geology areas and Ukrainian strongholds. But eventually, Russia is going to take them anyway. Okay? Let's remove that. All Putin is asking for is you get your military out of these zones. These zones have already voted to be Russia. They're going to stay Russia. And no more NATO in your zone. That's not what I would have asked for. I would have been a way tougher negotiator than Putin is being right now. So what I would have said was, remember how this whole shit started? back 10 years ago, when Russia wanted to avoid a war after 2014, they negotiated for the Luhansk region and the Donetsk region to vote on their fate, give them free elections, and let them decide, do they want to join Russia? Do they want to stay Ukrainian? Or do they want to have some autonomy where they are quasi-independent, like a Hong Kong, for example, or a Taiwan, where they are quasi-independent? Okay? If I was Putin, I would demand, and I'm going to color these in orange, I would demand that every region, this, every region that now borders Russia, this is Odessa. Every region that now borders Russia has to vote on their fate on whether they want to remain Ukrainian, whether they want to join Russia, or whether the region wants more autonomy and independence and perhaps make up their mind later. In addition, I would demand that the election for this is overseen by Russian officials. Now, what that means is that both Ukrainian officials and Russian officials are overseeing and counting votes to make sure it's a fair election. Okay? Now, that's the one thing, that's the first thing I would have pushed for if I was Putin. Now, the other thing I would demand is that the dictator of Ukraine, serving as an illegal, unelected president, steps down as the president of Ukraine, and a new president of Ukraine goes for election. I would also demand that Russian officials, along with Ukrainian officials, these could be, non-military people, these could be, professors or whatever, oversee the votes to make sure that they are fair votes. In addition, for the president of Ukraine, Russia gets to approve two candidates. Two candidates running for Ukrainian president are to be approved by Russia. Now, there could be 5 additional candidates that Russia can't stand and doesn't approve, but at least 2 candidates get approved by Russia, because you can see that there are, besides all of these regions that are now bordering Russia, assuming this is Russia, these regions have a lot of Russian speakers, a lot of ethnic Russians, a lot of people hiding in their homes right now that are pro-Russia, that are afraid to say they're pro-Russia because they could get executed by the Ukrainian authorities. These people should have the ability to vote for a guy that cares more about their interests than all the, Nazi Azov generals that would otherwise be running for that election. So that's another thing. If I was right, it doesn't mean the guy is going to win. Again, I am all for fairness, okay? But it's not fair if all the possible choices to be a Ukrainian president are selected by the United States. If the United States gets to select, 3 or 4 candidates that get to run for election in Kiev, then Russia should get a chance to put a couple of guys in there. What if they get elected? Again, Yanukovych got elected. Yanukovych was a pro-Russia guy. Now, it would be very difficult for Yanukovych to get elected again because his biggest voting base is currently Russia. So just because Russia puts up a pro-Russian candidate, the probability of that candidate to get elected is actually really low. So Ukraine should have nothing to worry about to lose to this guy. However, if all your choices are people that are going to start a new war with Russia, even the people back here and back here might vote for a pro-Russian president because they don't want to die in another war with Russia. So that would be the second thing that I would have demanded inside the peace agreement. Any comments on that, motorist? Otherwise, I got like 3 more.
Yeah, just Jack the Ripper or somebody was asking what's the difference between the languages. I'm assuming you speak both or you understand Ukrainian.
So the differences between the languages, well, first of all, one language is, I mean, the Ukrainian is gonna fucking hate me. One language is almost made up in order not to speak the other one, right? And you can guess which one that is. So the languages are similar. Let's put it this way. Every single Ukrainian understands Russian. Every single Ukrainian understands Russian, okay? If you find a Ukrainian that doesn't speak Russian, no, doesn't understand Russian. Let's put it that way, right? Every single Ukrainian understands Russian. If you find a Ukrainian that doesn't understand Russian and they happen to be of the opposite sex, you may not want to break laws by going into extracurricular. Like it's just a joke, right? Like the only Ukrainians that do not understand Russian are probably under the age of 18. Okay, they are extremely young and they were brought up in an anti-Russian household. Now, any Ukrainian over the drinking age will understand Russian. 90% of Ukrainians over the drinking age will also speak Russian. Okay. Now, 20 years ago, this ratio was way higher, right? Now, can a Russian understand Ukrainian? If I know what the subject is about, if I'm having a conversation with a person in Russian, and we're having a conversation about a specific topic, and that person suddenly started asking me questions in Ukrainian or answering my questions in Ukrainian, I will get the general gist of what they're talking about. It's kind of like if someone is speaking Portuguese and a Spanish person will understand what they're talking about. The languages are super similar. I do not speak Ukrainian, but I've been on a date with a Ukrainian girl, and I was talking to her in Russian, and she was talking back to me in Ukrainian, and I knew zero Ukrainian, and I got 60% of what she was saying.
And there's another
So,
question.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, you didn't finish. Go ahead.
No, that's about it. And trust me, everyone that's fighting in this thing, like when the Russians uh like go on radio or when they drop leaflets in Russian offering surrender terms to the Ukrainians fighting against them, again, unless there are 16-year-olds on the Ukrainian side from far west Ukraine, uh, they know exactly what the Russians are asking them.
The question was, what is Putin's interest in these particular regions? Now, let me try, before you answer, let me try giving my answer, which
Sure.
is strategically, those are very, very, not only are they Russian speaking, but those are also very, very important regions for Russia to control for their own security's sake. I mean, you got access to the Sea of Azov, access to the Black Sea. So strategically, those are very important regions for Russia's security. It's the same reason why China wants Taiwan is for strategically, if Taiwan is independent or is under another country's control, it's very dangerous for China. And that's my answer, at least. What's your answer?
So I will add to that, and I don't want to get into the whole Taiwan topic, but I would disagree with you on the Taiwan side of things, uh, or I would go way more macro on the Taiwan. So there's the main reason why Russia wants these regions is, first of all, this region is occupied by ethnic Russians. Okay, if suddenly, um, what's a good way to say it? It's hard to find a proper geographical analogy, but um, man, um, like let's flip the situation. Let's say instead of Russia selling Alaska to America, America sold Alaska to Russia. And for the last 100 years, Alaska was Russia. But the majority of the people living in Alaska happened to be Americans. It's just that America kind of sold them out and wanted money, and they sold it to Russia. And Russia kind of left Alaska alone, with mostly dominated by Americans. But Russia left it alone. It was Russia. Everyone agreed it's Russia. Americans are living in Alaska, and they're doing their thing. You know, they're voting in the Russian election because they can't vote in the American election. They have a pretty prosperous capitalistic society in Alaska. And then suddenly, the Russian government decides to ethnically cleanse the Americans in Alaska by, you know, killing them and making their life miserable and trying to repopulate Alaska with Russians. Now, the Alaska is Russia, right? The land is Russia. And they're trying to cleanse Alaska of Americans, or trying to make their life super miserable so that they move to Canada or America, and in order to just get rid of them. Don't you think America would want to do something about this, right? If America was watching a bunch of Americans getting killed because they happen to be in that region of Russia, even though America sold Alaska to Russia, America will eventually, after 10 years of watching their people getting killed slowly, they will eventually say, fuck this, we're going to bring our military and we're going to protect the Americans that happen to be living on Russian soil in this region that we would love to have autonomy, right? So, and then Russia says, okay, we will let Alaska vote whether they want to stay Russia or be independent or join America. We will sign this paper and you will have your vote once we take care of other bureaucracy. And then 8 more years go by, and this bureaucracy, while they're trying to fix the bureaucracy, they continue to kill more and more Americans because, hey, if we kill them all before the election comes, we don't have to worry about the election. That's basically what happened in these regions. These regions should have never been Ukraine. Luhansk and Donetsk should have never been Ukraine. And all the people living here were basically Russian. And Ukraine bans the Russian language, and they start to actually kill them. That's the main reason why Russia went in. The second reason is NATO. Russia doesn't want American nuclear weapons in Ukraine at all. And if there are going to be American weapons in Ukraine pointing to Moscow, they want them as far away from Moscow as possible. Okay? Now, these are the two regions they took. These two regions were very geographically important. So geography plays a big role. They wanted to have full control of any Ukraine region bordering the Sea of Azov. And after Russia took an even more Russian-dominated region than these two regions are 90% Russian as far as the people living there. This region was 98% Russian as far as the people living there. Ukraine had cut off natural resources, specifically water, from entering this region. Sea of Azov is salt water. It's useless for life, a human life anyway. So Russia wanted to create, they didn't want this area to be attacked. So now Russia wanted to secure additional regions to protect their navy, which is right here in Sevastopol. And these regions are also mostly Russian. So therefore, it was easy to get a referendum, and these regions became, had Ukraine agreed to the original deal and let these two regions become independent or join Russia, these regions would have remained Ukraine. And Russia would have still had to supply fresh water by cargo ship, which is a pain in the ass. Now they don't have to. Now they can get water from the lake right here, from the Dnieper River, which over here looks more like a lake. Okay. There is another reason, which is what pisses off Ukraine. Out of all the regions in Ukraine, excluding the capital city, because the capital city has a lot of, capital city has economic activity. Outside of the capital city, these two regions, occupied by 90% Russians, were the most economically productive regions in Ukraine. Now, that's not a statement saying that the Ukrainians are lazy and the Russians are not lazy, right? It just so happens that these two regions are the industrial heartland of Ukraine. Now, the agricultural heartland of Ukraine is over here. This is where the farms are. But this is where, like, the steel mills are. This is where the, the iron is. These are the hardworking, this is like the, like where the cars are made, for example, right? This is the, what do you call them? What's that region in America, the Midwest? Like, what they call that?
The Rust Belt.
The Rust Belt, thank you. This is the Rust Belt of Ukraine. So while it's not the best fertile land for agriculture, these are some of the most valued economically regions of Ukraine. And that's why Ukraine didn't want to give them up. This is one of the reasons why they didn't want to give them up. Okay, so that answers that question. Okay, so now let's get back to the other demands I would have if I was Putin. So the other demand is, I already talked about the election. Not only would I demand an official statement from Ukraine that there would not be NATO and there would not be, weapons that could reach Moscow by flight, I would also demand that United States, the UK, Israel, Germany, and France would not send any military training experts to Ukraine. So this would be, of course, like, you can't demand from the US, but you can demand from Ukraine saying that we would not only would there not be actual physical weapons, there would not be any instructors, no Navy, no officers, no senior military personnel from any of the following countries arriving in Ukraine for military training purposes. Okay? All the countries that pushed Ukraine into this ridiculous war with Russia would be banned from entering Ukraine for additional military training. That would be another demand that I would have. I would also, as part of it, I would also demand that none of these countries establish, obviously, not only no military bases, no biomedical bases either. So no CIA bases. There were 12 CIA bases along the border. No military affiliated bases from any of these countries. No medical biotechnology bases from any of these countries. There were numerous biolabs working on all kinds of viruses in Ukraine. So that needs to be eliminated as well. So no biomedical facilities with affiliation to any of the countries that I just listed. Two more demands. Officials, sorry, that is the biomedical one. Oh, yeah, two more demands. The removal of all foreign NGOs, especially Western American NGOs. This is what the Republic of Georgia is trying to do. This is what Russia has done. And this is what some other countries have done. The removal of, the George Soros Foundation, Endowment for Democracy. These NGOs that have control of the media, control of the education, brainwashing the public into the Western thinking. So the Republic of Georgia is trying to eliminate these NGOs. You can use the American model. You can literally take a document. It's an American law that does not allow the Chinese or the Russian, endowments for democracy, right? There's no Russian non-government organizations meddling in American election and in American education on American soil. They have to register, they have to provide the funding, they have to provide the names of all the people involved. Full transparency on NGOs. That is an American law. Other countries are trying to adopt this American law. The Republic of Georgia literally took an American law on NGOs and tried to adopt it. And there's huge protests going on, orchestrated by America, by the NGOs, that this is impeding democracy. They literally took the American law and replaced the word America with Georgia, USA with Georgia, okay? So the removal of all or full registration of NGOs as far as funding and the people involved. And finally, my final mandate would be Russian oversight of all nuclear facilities in Ukraine, including nuclear energy facilities. Again, I'm not saying it has to be a military dictator at the Ukrainian nuclear power plant. It will be a Russian PhD nuclear scientist on site, fully involved in all things happening at any nuclear facility in Ukraine. Okay, that would be one more demand that I would have, is oversight by my country. In this case, I'm speaking on behalf of Russia. Full oversight of all and biomedical facilities by Ukraine, right? So there is already a statement that there won't be any foreign biomedical facilities in Ukraine. Now, the oversight on Ukrainian biomedical facilities, that one is trickier. There could be intellectual property involved. For example, if a Ukrainian biomedical doctor comes up with something incredibly innovative, you don't want some Russian doctor, scientist, seeing your intellectual property. So there could be, some kind of negotiation there. But as far as the nuclear power plants go, I would absolutely demand that one of my scientists is on site at all your nuclear facilities. That would be my list of demands if I was Putin putting a peace deal together. But Putin was incredibly generous and literally asked for the bare minimum, and he still got turned down. This is fucking insane. All right, any comments?
Nothing on that. I did send you a DM, but it's on a different topic.
And by the way, if this war continues, Russia is going to take full control of these regions. And if Ukraine still doesn't come to its senses, they will additionally take this region and this region. And if Ukraine still doesn't come to its senses, Russia will also take this region, and this is where they will stop. They are not going further than this, because beyond these regions, this is where it gets hostile. Hostile from the people that live there. These regions are still very Russian speaking, and to quote Chris Rock, I'm not saying he should have killed her, but I understand, right? So with the people that live in these regions, none of these people want Russia there, but they understand.
Anyway, the messages I sent you on Telegram, they were deleted in the YouTube comments, so you can ignore them if you want.
Deleted by a moderator or deleted by the
By
person
Mel.
sending?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to throw you under the bus, Mel. By a moderator.
That you sent me where? Oh, you DM'd me. Okay, let me see. So there was a I'll answer it. There was a Swedish developer that coded the MRI, but as far as I know, I paid him for all the work. So if he thinks I owe him money, well, the first thing he has to do is actually reach out to me and tell me that I owe him money, which something he hasn't done in, I don't know, 6 years. And as far as I know, I paid him for all the work. So not only does he have to reach out to me and tell me that I owe him development hours, uh, he also has to prove to me that I didn't pay him. So considering it was 5 or 6 years ago, I would love to see him prove that. I also don't even remember if he was volunteering or I was paying him for it because it was so long ago. And this is why if somebody owes you money, you may want to let them know that they owe you money prior to waiting 6 years. I mean, what else can I say?
Yeah, that's probably a good reason why those comments were deleted.
Again, if somebody owes me money and I don't ask them for it, whose fault is that?
Hey, Tone, have you seen The Godfather? You still haven't seen The Godfather, right?
I still haven't seen The Godfather. I'm waiting for the right moment to see The
Well,
Godfather, and I know the answer is right now, but I'm
no,
still waiting for the right moment.
no. Here's my idea, and I guess maybe the chat can chime in if what they think about this. But I think that what we should do is at some point, if we can get together, or you can do it with other people, is get together, put the movie on, watch it, and while the movie, you can tell them when to sync it, so that if the movie starts, you can watch the movie and live stream yourself watching the movie. And somehow, if you could do it in a way that the sound doesn't come through, so the people at home can watch the movie at the same time, and you could react in real time to the movie, the 3 hour movie or whatever it is, at the same time that you're live streaming it out. If anybody would be interested in seeing Tone's live reaction to watching the movie The Godfather for the first time, let us know in the comments if that's a good idea or not.
I would want to do it with a group of people, man. We'll do it. You know what? I'm going to Roatan with like 20 friends, and we're going there for 6 days. And I'm not sure what the hell we're gonna do there for 6 days in a row. I know there's gonna be poker. I mean, Rotan's great, but I gotta entertain people for 6 days. Maybe that would be one of the things we do.
Yeah, and try to live stream it if you can. I think it'll be great. And I know there's going to be copyright issues, so if you can live stream it without the sound and anything, and just have people who can watch it along with you and sync it with the live stream, that would be perfect.
Yeah.
And you can have a bunch of guys reacting to it at the same time. Doesn't it just have to be you?
Well, here's a good poll, right? Start a poll. I'm really curious, guys. Please vote. The question is, have you seen The Godfather? And obviously there's a yes and a no. And I'm just curious how many do we have on stream right now? Do you have the number?
Yeah, it says 279.
279. Okay. So here's a poll. So I'm curious, how many people have not seen The Godfather? The initial reply is like 30%, dude.
Really? There's that many people who haven't seen The Godfather? That's crazy. I just assume everyone's seen it at this point.
Yeah, so with 20 votes in, it's 30% have not seen the movie.
Well, Winston's from, well, I don't want to say where he's from, but the area that you're from, Tone, people have seen The Godfather. That's why it's so strange that you grew up in Brooklyn and haven't seen The Godfather.
Yeah, so we're at 40% that have not seen The Godfather, dude.
Not only have I seen the movie, I've also read the novel. I've read the novel. I've seen all the movies.
I've seen Goodfellas. I've seen Goodfellas a few times. Yeah, dude, we're at 40%. And only 26 people voted. I don't know why this is such a difficult question to answer. Guys, come on, throw a vote. Have you seen The Godfather? It's not going to alter your life by voting. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be 40%. This makes me want to do this more. Like, for example, if it came back, only 10% of my audience has not seen The Godfather. I'm like, okay, why am I going to put people through this? But if 40% of the people that watch my channel have not seen The Godfather, now this sounds like a great idea. You there?
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't. I wasn't sure you were waiting for a response from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
But,
it's a great movie. I don't see it. The thing is, I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't want to give away, any spoilers.
no, don't talk about it. No, I've seen Goodfellas and I've seen Scarface. Yes, I've seen those.
Scarface, yeah, yeah, Goodfellas, Casino, Scarface. I used to joke that the two movies that ruined movies for me in the '90s were, one of them was Goodfellas and the other one was Terminator 2. Because after I saw those two movies, no other movie was as good as those two movies. So for
I don't know.
almost for the rest of
Jurassic Park was pretty good in the 90s.
sure, Jurassic Park, Pulp Fiction, Fight Club, there's a few good ones, but
Whoa, was Fight Club in the 90s? Shit.
'89, yeah, just barely.
Damn. There's no good movies anymore. They almost don't exist. The movie era is over.
I know you didn't like the Dune movies, but I like both the Dune movies. But I also like the old one too, the '84 one, which you haven't seen either.
I haven't seen the 84. I did not like the first. I have not seen the second. I will say I loved Avatar Part 1. Avatar Part 2 is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't think I saw the second Avatar. I saw the first one, but I haven't seen the second.
Don't watch the second.
Yeah, 1999. That's when Fight Club and The Matrix came out, and then
Those were good. Those were great.
Yeah, both
Fight
those are
Club,
great.
Matrix, they were awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. My favorite two movies also came out in the late 90s. Memento and what do you call them? Usual Suspects.
Oh yeah, Usual Suspects. Yeah, I forgot that one. '95. Usual Suspects was '95. It seems like it was later, but it was '95.
Yeah, feels like Memento might have been 2000, but it was right there.
Yeah, and after I saw the Fight Club movie, I read the book. The book is pretty good too, but the movie is better. Both are good, but the movie is definitely better than the book, and I think the author even acknowledges that.
So I got a very interesting question from Terapodal. What's the Russia-Ukraine stuff look like without Putin? It's an impossible question to answer. Not only is it a crazy hypothetical, but after Russia broke up in '91, America started to exploit and take over Russia. So if Putin didn't come to power in '99 or 2000, whenever Putin came to power, if Putin didn't come to power and bring Russia back to, I guess, the word I'm looking for is, oh man, this stream is going on forever. Not the right wing, the nationalism. Putin brought back Russian nationalism and the church, the Russian Orthodox Church. Putin is mostly responsible for the resurrection of Russian nationalism and the Russian Orthodox Church, and bringing, pride back to Russians. That's what Putin is responsible for. If Putin never gets into power, for all we know, there is no Russia today. For all we know, Russia is Ukraine. Like, for all we know, Russia and Ukraine is one fucked up country exploited by America as a giant money laundering operation, right? So it's hard to say how Russia and Ukraine would have, what would have happened. It really depended on who was going to take over after Yeltsin. Had America put in their guy after Yeltsin, Russia could be Haiti right now, right? Like America wants to do to Russia what America's been doing to Haiti. And the reason why Russia is now being praised and welcomed into Cuba is because for the last 7 years, America tried to turn Cuba into Haiti. Like, as far as America is concerned, the greatest thing in the world for any country is to be a Haiti. This is why being friends, letting America dictate where your country goes is a disaster.
Yeah, I do know. I believe it was under Yeltsin when Russia wanted to join NATO, and of course they were laughed at. They were like, "There's no way we're going to let
No,
Russia
it
join."
wasn't under. Yeah, no, it was under Putin.
Oh, it was under Putin. Okay.
It was under Putin. Putin immediately, like, here's what people don't understand. I know Putin gets demonized left and right. Yes, Putin was former KGB, but where was he former KGB? Putin was KGB out of Germany. Putin spent a lot of time in the West. Putin speaks fluent English, fluent German. Putin wanted good relations with the West. He wanted very good relations with Europe, especially Germany. He's very fond of German. He speaks German. He wanted good relations with Germany. That's why there were pipelines into Germany. He also wanted good relations with America because you don't want to be on America's bad side. He tried to be America's friend, and he tried to be Europe's bestier friend. He wanted to join NATO to avoid any kind of future military conflict between the West and Russia. He wanted to join NATO so that Europe has one security infrastructure against enemies against Europe. He wanted to be part of Europe. Putin spent 15 years trying to get Russia integrated in Europe as much as possible. And if Russia is fully integrated into Europe, America has no choice but to integrate America with uh, with with Russia because they're so integrated into Europe. Putin went unreasonably out of his way for his first 15 years to bring Russia back to power while at the same time integrating into Europe and America. And all of that went to shit once Biden got basically, well, pretty much at the end of the Obama administration. And where was I going with this?
About how Putin wanted to join NATO.
Yeah. So Putin was pushing to join into NATO, but he had no idea that America wanted the complete opposite of Russia joining NATO. They wanted Russia as an enemy. So, I mean, Putin's biggest problem right now is being too nice to Europe and America, pleasing them for so long. And with this peace deal he just offered, he's lucky Ukraine turned it down. Because if Ukraine would have accepted his weak peace deal, he would have been ripped to shreds for asking for so little.
Do you want to answer the Saudi question? I know it's not something you
Right.
care about, but you wanted to answer it. You wanted to address it.
Right. So you said you think you have my answer for me. What's the answer?
Okay, so they were saying, "Oh, it's the end of." Whoever was asking, was it Franz or I don't know who it was saying, "Oh, this is the end of Bretton Woods. It's Saudi Arabia is no longer only selling their oil for dollars." And your answer is going to be, "It doesn't matter. That's not where U.S. power comes from. That's not the reason why U.S. projects power." Although that's what, if you watch YouTube, that's what everybody on YouTube says. The petrodollar is the reason why America has so much economic power.
Right. So I don't believe in a petrodollar. 1 second. Yeah, Sadwise. Let's meet up. I know where you live. And But you got to come to me. I have no car. Okay. I don't believe in the petrodollar. I believe that countries buy oil in any currency they like, and there are plenty of banks that will convert it for a fee to any currency that the other country wants to receive. Having said that, this is just symbolic. This is just Saudi Arabia saying we want to be more neutral. We don't want to be, under the boot of the United States. I don't think this changes anything economically, geopolitically. Oil will still be priced in US dollars because it is the most stable currency in the world. And when there is a better stable currency in the world, oil will be priced in that currency. It's just free market at work. I don't believe or care about the petrodollar. Yes, it helps the dollar that oil is denominated in dollars. No one has to trade oil in dollars. They have to denominate it in dollars. But it's going to continue to be denominated in dollars because it's the most stable currency.
And it really has nothing to do with Bretton Woods. I know when Bretton Woods collapsed and Nixon negotiated with the Saudis for them to sell their oil for dollars, people think like that's how the U.S. continued their economic dominance, but that wasn't it, according to you.
Right.
All right.
Well, we got a great question. Daya Baron asks, Tone, well, you want to read the question? You're better at this than I am.
Tone, Vays, love your analysis. Russia, can you hear me okay? Russia and geopolitics. Yeah. It's spot on. My question is, why doesn't Putin take over Odessa and get rid of Zelensky? Then the war would be over.
Great question. It's really hard to take over another country's land. It's very, very challenging. Russia has a great challenge. One of the biggest problems that Russia has is that not everyone in Russia agrees with the Russian government that they should be having a war in Ukraine. And it was even more so early on. Russia lost so many. Okay, well, let me rephrase. Russia has had a demographic problem for a while, similar to Japan. Japan has one of the worst demographics in the world. They have an aging population. No one is having kids. You can buy a house in Japan for $10,000 because no one owns it. No one wants to take care of it. Russia does not have great demographics. Russia pays people to have kids. Okay? Anything that Russia does from the government level that would make their demographics worse is a problem. The last thing Russia wants is to lose Russians. Russia lost a lot of Russians at the end of the 1980s. A lot of smart, entrepreneurial Russians. If you are in America, there's a lot of Russians in America, mostly in New York, some in Chicago, many in Florida. If you interact with the Russians in America, you will find that I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that the average Russian living in the United States is probably more of a go-getter. That's like the nicest way I can phrase it, than your average American. Again, we're talking averages here. The reason for that is because the Russians, the Russian families, like my family, right? Like, look, I'm not saying I'm the smartest, whatever, right? But I did become successful. My family members become successful, okay? On average, most Russians you meet are entrepreneurial, they're successful. Russia lost some of their best and brightest at the end of communism, when there were opportunities to get out. And it's not that Russians are smarter than Americans. That's not what I'm saying. You have to read between the lines. When there were opportunities to leave Russia at the end of the 1980s, the Russians that took that opportunities were the most resourceful, smartest, energetic, looking out for their kids, looking out for the future. So the reason why America, the Russians that are in America are the higher, I guess we can go with IQ. I don't have another metric, right? It's the higher IQ family Russians that were resourceful enough to get the fuck out, okay? A similar thing happened when Russia invaded Ukraine. It was the wealthier, the smarter, the more resourceful Russians that fled Russia because they didn't agree with the Ukraine war. These are not the people your country wants to lose or can afford to lose if you want to project 100 years down the line. And the last thing you want to do is to replace these people with people from, let's say, a completely different culture. You don't want to replace your Russians with Chinese. You don't want to replace your Russians with Middle Easterns, with Africans. That's not what you want. You want your country to retain as many smart, young, energetic, entrepreneurial people as you can. Okay? Now, how does this relate to Odessa? Russian number one priority right now is to avoid military casualties. Military casualties require replacement with more military personnel. The more military personnel Russia stuffs into the Ukraine conflict, the more people are going to want to leave Russia. Russia needs to avoid what I refer to as a brain drain. I don't know if that's a scientific term, common term, I have no idea, right? I call it brain drain. Your country needs to do whatever possible to avoid losing the youngest, smartest, and the brightest, right? You don't want your best basketball player to leave and basketball is a bad example, right? You don't want your best hockey player to go and play in America. You want your best hockey player to stay and play in Russia, right? Something like that. So if Russia was to push into Odessa, it's going to be very challenging. They're going to lose a lot of men. They have to replace those men. They would be risking a lot. Does Russia want Odessa? Fuck yes, they want Odessa. Odessa is the most prime region. Maybe not the north side of Odessa, but the south side of Odessa is the most prime region of all of Ukraine now that they've taken this land. Okay? They also have to go through another region, Mariupol, that isn't as useful as Odessa. I believe that the whole Kharkov thing is a smokescreen, and what they really want is Odessa. And if Ukraine keeps fighting, Russia is going to take Odessa. Okay? I should probably lower the colors a bit. It's a little too yellow, but you get the point. This is what they really, really want. Okay? Maybe this. Maybe Kharkov. Okay? But Kharkov is hard. It's a big city to take. So that's the reason why they can't just, go roll their tanks into Odessa. They also have to nudge into Odessa to where the Russian-leaning people of Odessa are more favorable to Russians coming in because Ukraine keeps trying to kill them by throwing them into the meat grinder. They want to take more time and for the anti-Russian Odessans to either leave Odessa to go to the west or enter into the war voluntarily if there's any idiot that still is doing that. Okay? They want to remove as many people from Odessa as possible. They also want to avoid as many casualties in Odessa as possible. So it's easier to roll in when the people have already left. So it has to be a very slow, methodical process. But does Russia want Odessa? Yes. But how do you go about capturing Odessa is the question to answer. I hope that answers the question.
Makes perfect sense. And I think maybe you kind of touched on something, which is why would Putin offer such a deal, which in your opinion is bad? I think what Putin, first of all, Putin, I think knew that they would say no. Second part is if they by chance they said yes, what Putin would do is once he has those regions, then it's going to be a lot easier for him to take additional regions. Maybe that's a little bit controversial to say, but I think that's kind of maybe what he was thinking.
So I'm gonna say I'm not gonna. I think I don't think that's controversial. I just think that's not accurate, right? Like if there's one thing, Putin is a man of his word. Okay, contrary to U.S. If Putin says something, he's a man of his word. Okay, and now what Putin is probably banking on is that even if Ukraine takes this deal, they would break the deal. So that is more likely. If Ukraine holds to the deal, there is nothing Putin can do about Mykolaiv and Odessa. He wouldn't do it, right? Now, could he try to infiltrate the educational system? Could he try to create a false flag? Yes, that's possible, right? But those are long 10, 20-year like schemes, right? But if Ukraine took the deal, I think Putin's best bet is they took the deal, but the West is so untrustworthy. It's not going to take them long to fuck up, and then I can go in again.
By the way, Adonis Cruz in the chat says that they live in La Ceiba, Honduras. So if you need anything from the mainland, let him or her know. I don't know if it's a guy. I guess Adonis is a guy's name. Let him know.
I don't see him. Where is he? How do you spell it?
Adonis, last name Cruz, like Penelope Cruz.
Oh, Adonis Cruz. Okay, cool. Hey Adonis, can you message me on Telegram? I'm already in touch with Trujillo Dive Center, which is also in Honduras, by the way, but in the mainland. We're definitely going to meet up. I already have multiple dive instructors, which is great. But yeah, Adonis Cruz, message me on Telegram. Look for a check mark. You can take a guess at what my username on Telegram is. Make sure it's me. If I ask you for money, then it's not me. Yeah, let's definitely connect. I want to connect with as many people as in Honduras as I can.
Okay, and he is commenting in the chat right now.
All right, cool. All right. I think on this note, I want to go eat.
All right, brother. Thanks for having me on. Good talk, and let us know when you're gonna watch The Godfather so we can watch along with you.
Yeah. Oh, and the other part of the question is, why doesn't Russia get rid of Zelensky? Well, they are getting rid of Zelensky. They are making sure that the international community agrees with Russia that Zelensky is not a legitimate president. And if Zelensky does something stupid, then Russia could perhaps eliminate him. But like the last thing Russia wants to do is kill Zelensky, because then America is going to demonize Russia even more. Again, Russia is fighting the biggest propaganda machine in the history of the planet. I know how Joe Biden sat there on 60 Minutes and says, we're America, the greatest country in the history of the world. The history of the world, he repeated himself. That is not true. America is the biggest propaganda machine in the history of the world, okay? Because America is a propaganda across the world, right? You can say that Russia had a bigger propaganda machine during their communist days, and so did China. But this propaganda was within the confines of the country. America is the biggest propaganda machine in the history of the world across the world. Okay? So that's what Russia is up against. People still believe Russia got Trump elected against Hillary by rigging the election. That's how insane American propaganda is.
Yeah, just the people who watch MSNBC, though. I don't think that's a common perception at this point.
Oh, but it's not MSNBC. It's MSNBC. It's CNN. It's everything but Fox, right? And today even Fox is lefty. Fox fired all of their libertarian and right-leaning people. They fired Judge Napolitano. They fired Tucker. I mean, Fox fired all the libertarians and right-leaning communists. Fox is as liberal as the rest of them now.
Yep. They figured that they lost Bill O'Reilly and they were fine. But Tucker is not Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah. All right, man. Hey, thanks for hanging out.
Sure.
This was great. I'm not going to save that map. I'm going to stop the screen share. I need to eat. I haven't eaten since at least 28 hours. No, 26 hours. So,
Been saving this for after the stream.
yeah. Oh, half an avocado. Nice. All right, guys, thank you all for watching. Can't believe it's still light out. Well, we are coming up on the longest day of the year. I will be in Wisconsin for like a day hanging out with Joe Saz, and then I'm gonna drive over to with Doug Scribner to the lake house. So Doug is driving to PorcFest. He's stopping here tomorrow. He's gonna drive to PorcFest on the way. Then he's gonna drive and pick me up in Wisconsin.
Perfect. Say what's up to Doug for me. And then when Doug gets up to PorcFest, hopefully he'll say what's up to Jim up there, Jim Babb.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Jim's always there. All right, guys. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all on the next one. Thanks for hanging out, Morris.